As a young boy, I really enjoyed the idea of fishing. Just sitting on the end of a dock with your dog and a pole, or the side of a riverbank, or being in the boat with your aunt or your uncle, a line in the water, just sort of free. And those were great memories. And then, after the day, they would bring in the fish, and we'd cook them up. Usually at a park or out in the country somewhere, we'd have a fish fry. And wow, that was some really good food, and brings back some wonderful memories every time I think about that. Just getting together with your family. We really didn't need to have family reunions in the traditional sense because, well, just about every other Sunday we were all together. Now, I'm a little older, but I'm not old. But this was a time before the internet and cell phones when people still engaged, looked at each other in the eyes when they spoke, had conversations, and engaged in physical activities. But the one thing about this activity I did not like, I hated, was the actual physical act of fishing, because I never caught any fish. Now, that's not to say I didn't hook things. I certainly cleaned up a lot of river and pond bottoms with my fishing pole. Nothing I could bring home, nothing I could eat. But over time, the frustration of not being able to catch fish like everybody else was really frustrated me, and I quit. But recently I decided to engage the help of fishologists, fish experts, scientific wannabes, pointy-head know-it-alls, and we developed formulas to take the fisherman who cannot catch any fish and turn him into the professional who does. Now, this involved long, intensive years of night and day, hard work, calculations, scientific formulas, studies, polls. Of course, we consulted Einstein's papers. We're going to be sharing all of this, of course, as you can tell. All of our notes will be available to you to use so you can see what we saw. And hopefully our research will turn you all into better fishermen and women. Actually, what I'm about to share with you is not rocket surgery. It's just some really simple information, not complicated, but it's for everybody from your grandma to your daughter to your neighbor who really hasn't fished before or hasn't been very good at it, and they want to go out and do something that's fun. And it's 5 easy steps for catching fish for beginners. This list isn't in order of importance. It wouldn't matter if it was, so just do what you feel is right for you. But the first one is bait. Bait is, it is important, but I'm going to talk about the two different kinds of bait. And the first one is live bait, and I think that's pretty easy. That's self-explanatory. But live bait is basically you're copying their food, and that's minnows, night crawlers, grubs, crickets, for example. Or what you can use are lures. And lures are just replicas of prey, and they're designed to attract the attention of the fish. Now, you can go buy live bait, or you can grab a shovel, go to your backyard or your front yard, your neighbor's yard, dig a hole, and you've got free bait. With lures, well, you can buy them at local hardware stores, sporting goods stores, or if you've got a knack for it, you can make your own. Some people are really passionate about that and are very good at making their own lures. So it's also important that if, for example, you want to match your bait to the size of the fish. So for example, if you're going out looking for panfish, you don't want something that's too big. If you're going after catfish, you don't want something that's too small. Now, the two most common and simplest methods for baiting a hook with a worm are, the first one's the standard method where you just thread it on in like an S pattern. And the second type is what I call the sock method, which is you just simply slide the worm from the tip of the hook all the way up to the eyelet. Moving on to the second rule, and this is one that I learned the hard way. Time of day. Now, generally, speaking. The warmer the water, the more active that the fish will be. However, that doesn't apply to the time of day. Many instances I fished in the middle of summer, high sky, 2 in the afternoon, hot day, and I didn't get anything but sunburnt and bug bit. So I learned that lesson the hard way, of course. Now it may work for other people. It didn't for me. And again, I'm speaking about just common, ordinary freshwater fishing. So what is the optimal time for fishing? Well, there's 2 really during each day and normally. And the first one is early in the morning, sunrise. And you might see a lot of people driving trailers with boats on them as you're going to work. Or you might see them again at night, because that's when the fish seem to be most active or aggressive when it comes to taking the bait. And there is also another alternative, and that would be a cloudy day or an overcast day. Fish seem to also be more active. Freshwater fish seem to be more active during those times. But again, remember, these are general practices and these are for common freshwater fish. Location, climate, and season can all affect your results. See dealer for details. So, number 3, depth. Not the depth of your knowledge, not the depth of your experience, the depth of the water. Now, freshwater fish have basically two types of feeders. There are the surface feeders, what I call them. They are just fish such as bluegill. They tend to hop around towards the top of the water, and those are the ones that you'll fish with your bobber and your hook a little closer to the water surface, as opposed to bottom feeders, which are like gar or catfish or muskie. And those are ones that feed along the bottom, normally found a lot around brushy areas or rocky areas. While carp and catfish are bottom feeders, know what you're fishing for ahead of time so you know how deep to fish. Step number 4, keep the line moving. Keep it moving, folks. There's plenty of old wives' tales out there. There's even more old fishermen's tales, very few which are accurate. But one I like to repeat is that 90% of the fish are in 10% of the water. And boy, did I spend a lot of my youth in the 90%. But one of the things you might not think of packing when you go fishing, because fishing is a way to escape, is a watch. Stay in your first spot 30, 40 minutes. If you're not getting any activity, well, when that 30 or 40 minutes comes along, move to another spot. Don't be afraid to pack up. It's not about what you're missing. It's what you're trying to find. The fish are not going to find you. You have to find the fish. Let's say that you park your truck or your car and you go out to your first spot and half an hour goes by and you're not getting anything. So move down the lane a little bit. You know, if you're along a river, go to the bank. If you were on a bank, go over to a shady area or a rocky cove, or just change up the scenery a little bit. Rotate to also rotate through different types of bait. Don't be afraid to switch over and see what works during that 30 or 40 minutes. Experiment. But the idea is, don't sit there with a bad hand. Move on to your next spot, your next spot, and your next spot if it takes that, until you start catching the fish. Last but not least is step number 5, and that is noise. So a lot of people fish to fish, and other people, they fishing is an excuse to do other things. Nothing wrong with a couple drinks, some tunes, yucking it up with your friends and your family. You just have to be mindful of your surroundings and respectful of your neighbors. Whether you're really trying to catch fish, they're trying to catch fish, or they're just wanting to have some peace and quiet. This would be part of the human factor, a little self-awareness and sensitivity to your fellow man. Now, there's a long-held belief that you can't make any noise at all or you're going to spook the fish. Well, fish tend to feel you more than they hear you. So what does that mean? Well, that means vibrations. You talking to your wife or your kids talking, that their voice isn't necessarily perforating the water and affecting the fish. Vibrations do. Vibrations like, well, throwing rocks, skipping rocks across the lake. They will notice that. Stomping around at the edge of the shore, they're going to notice that. If you're in a boat and you're firing up your motor, or you're kind of floating around banging against the dock, or you're swimming, turbulence is what will disturb the fish. And they know, they're able to detect when it's just not your typical waves or just kind of commotion. Vibrations from your boat, vibrations from splashing around or swimming, that will cause the fish to leave your area. Take a moment, folks, and hit that like and subscribe button. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. From all of us here at American Outdoors, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.